The sound of skin meeting skin cut through the champagne laughter like a knife through silk. 300 people froze. 300 pairs of eyes looked away. But Marcus Webb didn't look away. Not when Ethan Blackwell's hand connected with his pregnant wife's face. Not when she hit the marble floor. And not when the billionaire CEO turned those cold eyes on him and said, "This is none of your business." Marcus had 20 years in the Marines. He'd buried his wife 2 years ago. And tonight, he'd lost everything for 5 words, "Sir, step away from her." But what he didn't know was that this moment, this one choice would unravel secrets that went back 7 years, destroy an empire built on silence, and force an entire city to answer one question. How many times had they all looked away before? Tell me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Marcus Webb's hands didn't shake anymore. Not since Fallujah. Not since Sarah's funeral. Not even now, watching the security monitors at 10:43 p.m. on a Thursday night, while 300 of Dallas's wealthiest citizens celebrated themselves in the name of charity. His shift supervisor, Raymond Torres, sat beside him in the cramped security office, half watching a Cowboys highlights reel on his phone. Raymond was 62, 23 years Dallas PD, before his knees gave out. Good man, quiet. The kind who noticed things. "Camera 3's glitching again," Raymond muttered, tapping the screen. "Keeps cutting out every few minutes." "I'll check it after the event," Marcus said. His voice was the same as always, low, steady, the kind of voice that made people believe he had everything under control. Most days, that was almost true. "How's Darius doing?" Raymond asked without looking up. "He like his new teacher. Says she's strict. I told him strict is good." "That's because you're old school Marine. Kids these days need gentle." Marcus almost smiled. "Kids these days need to know the world isn't gentle." Raymond glanced at him, and something passed between them, understanding maybe. They both knew what the world could do. Raymond had pulled bodies from car wrecks. Marcus had carried his brothers out of blown-up Humvees. And they both knew that all the money in that ballroom couldn't buy what mattered: the ability to look at yourself in the mirror and not flinch. On camera 4, the ballroom glittered. Crystal chandeliers threw light across designer gowns and custom suits. Champagne flowed. A jazz quartet played something smooth and expensive. The charity event was for underprivileged children, $3,000 a plate, to eat catered food and feel good about caring. Marcus had worked these events for 4 years. He knew the rhythm. The speeches would end around 10:30. The serious drinking would start by 11 hours. By midnight, he'd be cleaning up broken glasses and escorting intoxicated guests to their cars. By 1:00 a.m., he'd drive his 15-year-old pickup back to Oak Cliff, slip into his apartment without waking Mrs. Chen next door, and catch 4 hours of sleep before Darius's alarm went off. It was a good job. Steady. Benefits. Enough to keep the lights on and food on the table. More than a lot of single fathers had. "There's Blackwell," Raymond said, nodding at camera 2. Marcus looked. Ethan Blackwell stood in the center of a circle of admirers, tall and confident, in a suit that probably cost more than Marcus made in 3 months. 42 years old. CEO of Apex Technologies. Worth somewhere north of $3 billion. Defense contracts, telecommunications, AI development. The kind of company that sounded important without anyone really knowing what it did. "He donated $2 million tonight," Raymond said. "Wrote the check on camera. Made sure everyone saw." Generosity loves an audience. Cynical Marcus. Realistic. Beside Ethan stood his wife Diane, early 30s, blonde, elegant in a pale blue gown that didn't quite hide the swell of her pregnant belly. 6 months along, according to the briefing memo security had received. High-value guest. Handle with care. Marcus watched her on the monitor. She stood slightly apart from Ethan, one hand resting on her stomach, a practiced smile on her face that never quite reached her eyes. He'd seen that smile before on Sarah, during the last months when the pain was bad, but she didn't want anyone to worry. "You ever meet Blackwell?" Raymond asked. No. Why would I? He was in the service, Navy, funded some veteran scholarship program. Marcus grunted. Lots of rich men like to fund things. Made them feel connected to something real. On camera 3, the one that kept glitching champagne service was starting. Waiters moved through the crowd with silver trays. Someone laughed too loud. Someone else's phone rang and was quickly silenced. The usual choreography of wealth trying to look effortless. Then it happened. Camera 3 flickered, came back, and Marcus saw Diane bump into someone, an older woman in red champagne glass tilting liquid, splashing across Ethan Blackwell's jacket. The woman in red apologized, dabbing at the stain with her napkin. Diane's hand went to her mouth. Other guests backed away slightly, giving them space. And Ethan's face changed. Marcus leaned forward. Raymond? I see it. It wasn't anger on Ethan's face. Anger would have been better. This was something colder. His jaw tightened. His eyes went flat. He said something to Diane, short-clipped. She flinched. That's a $10,000 suit, Raymond said quietly. Maybe more. Ethan gripped Diane's wrist. His fingers were white-knuckled. She tried to pull away. He held on. Raymond, call security to the ballroom. Marcus, it's just... do it. Now. Raymond reached for the radio, but Marcus was already out of his chair, already moving. The security office door slammed behind him. The hallway blurred. 20 years of training kicked in. Assess approach act. His body knew what to do before his mind caught up. Behind him, Raymond's voice crackled over the radio. Security to main ballroom, possible domestic situation. Marcus hit the ballroom entrance at a fast walk. Not running. Running would cause panic. But moving with purpose, with authority, with the kind of presence that said, I belong here, and I will not be stopped. The jazz quartet was still playing. The champagne was still flowing. And in the center of the room, 300 people had formed a perfect circle around Ethan and Diane Blackwell. Diane was on the floor, blood at her lip, one hand on her pregnant belly, the other hand braced against the marble trying to push herself up. Ethan stood over her. His expression was smooth now, almost concerned, but his body language, weight forward, shoulders squared, told a different story. Diane, get up, he said. His voice carried across the sudden silence. Calm. Reasonable. You're embarrassing yourself. No one moved. 300 people, and not a single one stepped forward. Marcus saw a woman in emerald green with her phone out recording. He saw a man in a tuxedo take 2 steps back. He saw a waiter frozen with a tray of champagne flutes, mouth open. He saw the security guards at the far entrance hesitate, looking at each other, not moving. And he thought, this is how it happens. This is how everyone becomes complicit. Diane looked up. Her eyes swept the crowd, searching, pleading. They landed on Marcus for half a second, and in that moment, he saw everything. The fear, the shame, the desperate hope that someone, anyone would see her. Sarah had looked at him like that, the night before she died, when the morphine wasn't enough anymore, and she knew she was leaving him and Darius alone. That look that said, I need you to be strong enough for what comes next. Marcus stepped into the circle. Sir, he said. His voice cut through the jazz music. Step away from her. Ethan turned. His eyes narrowed, taking Marcus in the Navy maintenance uniform, the ID badge clipped to his belt, the slight gray at his temples. Calculating. Dismissing. Who are you? Facilities supervisor, sir. I've called security and medical. I need you to step back. This is a private family matter. Sir, with respect, there are 300 witnesses. It stopped being private when you put your hands on her in public. A ripple went through the crowd. Phones appeared. Camera flashes sparked. Ethan's expression hardened. Do you have any idea who I am? Ethan Blackwell. Apex Technologies. 3.7 billion net worth. Major donor to the Marine Corps Scholarship Fund. Marcus kept his voice level, professional. Which paid for my EMT training after I left the service. So yes, sir. I know exactly who you are. Something flickered in Ethan's eyes. Surprise, maybe, or recalculation. Then you know, Ethan said softly, that you're making a terrible mistake. Maybe, but I'd rather make this mistake than the other one. Two security guards pushed through the crowd, Johnson and Rivera, both good men, both looking uncertain. Mr. Blackwell, Johnson said carefully. Sir, we received a call about a misunderstanding. Ethan's voice was smooth, again controlled. He extended his hand toward Diane. My wife tripped. Isn't that right, darling? Diane stared at his hand, blood still on her lip, trembling. Diane, Ethan said. Still calm, still reasonable. But there was something underneath now, a warning. Tell them what happened. Marcus knelt beside Diane, ignoring Ethan entirely. Ma'am, I have EMT training. Will you let me check if you're injured? Diane's eyes went from Marcus to Ethan and back. Her breathing was shallow, her hand protective over her belly. Ma'am, Marcus kept his voice gentle. I just want to make sure you and your baby are okay. Ethan stepped forward. She doesn't need, sir. Marcus looked up, met Ethan's eyes. I need you to step back, right now. The room held its breath. Ethan's jaw clenched. His hand, the hand that had pushed his pregnant wife to the floor, twitched at his side. Raymond's voice crackled over Marcus's radio. Dallas PD is 3 minutes out. Hold your position. You're calling the police. Ethan's voice went cold. On me. Do you understand what you've done? Yes, sir. My job. Your job is to stay invisible and clean up after your betters. Ethan took another step forward. Your job is to know your place. Marcus stood slowly. He was 3 inches shorter than Ethan, but he'd learned a long time ago that height meant nothing. Presence meant everything. My place, Marcus said quietly, is between you and anyone you're hurting. You self-righteous. Ethan's hand moved. The slap was open-palmed, sharp, loud enough to echo off the high ceiling. Marcus's head snapped to the side. Pain bloomed across his cheek. The crowd gasped. Marcus didn't move, didn't touch his face, didn't blink. He just looked at Ethan Blackwell, and in his mind, he was back in Iraq watching a lieutenant beat a detainee, and he'd stayed quiet then because he was young and scared and didn't know better. But he knew better now. Raymond, Marcus said into his radio, his voice steady. Tell me you got that on camera. Every angle, Marcus. Crystal clear. Ethan's face went white. He looked around, really looked, and saw the phones, saw the cameras, saw 300 witnesses who couldn't look away anymore. You, Ethan said, pointing at Marcus. You're done. Finished. I'll make sure you never work in this city again. Probably right about that, sir. I'll sue you for defamation, for assault, for what, standing here while you hit me? Marcus tilted his head. Go ahead. I got nothing worth taking. Officer Jenny Martinez pushed through the crowd, her partner right behind her. 11-year veteran, sharp eyes, no patience for wealthy men who thought they were above consequences. Dallas PD, she said. Someone want to tell me what's happening here? This man assaulted my wife and then attacked me when I tried to defend her. Ethan said immediately. Smooth. Confident. I want him arrested. Martinez looked at Diane, still on the floor. Blood on her lip. Looked at Marcus, red mark blooming on his cheek. Looked at the crowd of frozen witnesses. That how it happened, ma'am? Martinez asked Diane. Diane opened her mouth. Closed it. Her eyes went to Ethan. Diane, Ethan said softly. Tell the officer what happened. The silence stretched. Marcus could hear his own heartbeat, could hear Diane's shallow breathing, could hear the distant jazz quartet still playing because no one had told them to stop. Ma'am, Martinez prompted. Diane looked at Marcus, really looked at him, and something in her face changed, a decision being made in real time. He pushed me, she whispered. My husband pushed me. And when this man tried to help, Ethan hit him. The crowd erupted. Voices overlapping. Cameras flashing. Someone shouted. Someone else swore. Ethan's face went from white to red. "Diane, what are you? You're confused. You're pregnant. You don't know?" "I know," Diane said louder now. "I know exactly what happened, and I'm done lying about it." Martinez nodded to her partner. "Mr. Blackwell, I need you to come with us to the station. We have some questions." "I'm not going anywhere without my attorney." "That's your right, sir. But you're coming to the station one way or another." Martinez's hand moved to her cuffs. "We doing this easy or hard?" Ethan looked around the ballroom, at the cameras, at the witnesses, at his empire cracking in real time. "This isn't over," he said, looking at Marcus. "Not even close." "No, sir," Marcus agreed. "I don't imagine it is." They led Ethan Blackwell out in handcuffs. The crowd parted like water. Paramedics arrived for Diane. Johnson and Rivera stood awkwardly by the door, not meeting Marcus's eyes. Raymond appeared at Marcus's elbow. "That was either the bravest or dumbest thing I've ever seen." "Probably both. You know they're going to fire you." "Yeah." "And sue you." "Yeah." "And make your life hell." "Yeah." Marcus rubbed his face. The adrenaline was wearing off now, leaving behind exhaustion and the first whispers of fear. What had he done? How would he pay rent? What would he tell Darius? But then Diane looked at him from the stretcher, paramedics checking her vitals, and mouthed two words. "Thank you." And Marcus thought, worth it. Martinez took his statement. 17 witnesses gave theirs. The security footage was downloaded and logged. By 2:00 a.m., Marcus was in his truck driving back to Oak Cliff through empty streets, his phone already buzzing with missed calls from numbers he didn't recognize. He pulled into his apartment complex, sat in the cab, stared at his hands on the steering wheel. 20 years in the Marines. 2 tours in Iraq, 1 in Afghanistan. He'd been shot at, blown up, nearly killed more times than he could count. He'd watched friends die, held their hands while they bled out, carried their bodies home. And until tonight, he'd thought the hardest thing he'd ever done was watching Sarah slip away degree by degree, until there was nothing left but the space where she used to be. But this standing in that ballroom, stepping into that circle, looking at a man who could destroy him with a phone call, and saying no, this might have been harder. Because in war, the enemy is obvious. The choice is clear. Shoot or be shot. Run or die. But in that ballroom, surrounded by people who had everything to lose and nothing to gain by carrying the choice, should have been easy. Look away. Stay quiet. Keep your job. Keep your life. And for 300 people it was easy. For Marcus Webb, it turned out to be impossible. His phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. But something made him, maybe curiosity, maybe exhaustion, maybe the sense that everything was already in motion, and there was no point pretending otherwise. "Hello." "Mr. Webb." A woman's voice. Professional. "My name is Catherine Reeves. I'm an attorney specializing in civil rights and employment law. I saw what happened tonight. I'd like to represent you pro bono." Marcus closed his eyes. Represent me for what? For what's coming. Because Marcus. May I call you Marcus? By tomorrow morning, Ethan Blackwell's legal team will have filed defamation suits against you, against everyone who shared that video, against the Indigo House for not stopping you. They'll paint you as unstable, violent, looking for a payout. They'll dig into every mistake you've ever made, and they will try to destroy you. So why are you calling? A pause. Then, because I've been waiting 7 years for someone like you. Someone who finally stood up. Someone who can't be bought or scared into silence. And because Diane Blackwell isn't Ethan's first victim. Not even his second. But if you're willing to fight, really fight, she might be his last. Marcus looked at his apartment. 2nd floor. 2 bedrooms. Darius asleep in one, dreaming whatever 9-year-olds dream about. School tomorrow. Breakfast to make. Permission slips to sign. A normal life that suddenly felt very far away. "I don't have money for lawyers," Marcus said. I told you. I told. Pro bono. This one's on me. Why? Another pause. Longer this time. Because 15 years ago I was Diane Blackwell. Different man. Same story. And no one stood up for me. So I stood up for myself. And I've been standing up for women like her ever since. Marcus watched a light come on in Mrs. Chen's apartment. Heard a dog bark somewhere down the street. The city settling into its late-night rhythm. What do I have to do? He asked. For now. Don't talk to reporters. Don't post on social media. Don't talk to anyone from Apex Technologies or the Indigo House without me present. Can you do that? Yes, ma'am. Good. I'll be in touch tomorrow. And Marcus, what you did tonight standing up when everyone else walked away, that matters. More than you know. She hung up. Marcus sat in the truck for another 10 minutes. Then he went inside. Checked on Darius, still asleep, clutching his worn, stuffed dog safe and oblivious. Marcus kissed his forehead. Whispered, I'm sorry if I made things hard for us, buddy, but I couldn't walk away. In his bedroom, Marcus lay on top of the covers, still in his uniform, and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere across Dallas, Ethan Blackwell was in a police station. Diane Blackwell was in a hospital. 300 witnesses were calling their lawyers, their PR people, their friends. And Marcus Webb was here in a one-bedroom apartment in Oak Cliff, unemployed, possibly sued. Definitely changed. But when he closed his eyes, he didn't see Ethan's hand connecting with his face. He didn't see the cameras or the crowd, or the fear in Diane's eyes. He saw Sarah. The night before she died, when she'd squeezed his hand and said, Promise me you'll teach our son what it means to be a good man, not a rich man, not a powerful man, a good man. And he'd promised. Tonight he'd kept that promise. Whatever came next, and he knew with bone-deep certainty that what came next would test him in ways combat never had. At least he could look at himself in the mirror. At least he could look at Darius. At least when his son was old enough to understand, Marcus could tell him the truth. Sometimes doing the right thing costs you everything, and you do it anyway. His phone buzzed again. A text from Raymond. They fired me too. Said I should have stopped you. Worth it though. Proud of you, Marine. Marcus typed back. Proud of you too, old man. Another text. Unknown number. This is Diane Blackwell. Catherine gave me your number. I don't know if you'll read this. I don't know if you'll care. But I need you to know you saved my life tonight. You saved my baby's life, and I will never forget it. Whatever happens now, whatever they do to you, I won't let you face it alone. I promise. Marcus stared at the message. Thought about promises. About what they cost. About whether one moment of courage was worth the lifetime of consequences. His phone buzzed a third time. A video link. Someone at the gala had posted the footage Ethan pushing Diane, Marcus stepping in the slap, all of it. The caption, when everyone looked away, one man stood up. This is Marcus Webb. This is what courage looks like. In 8 hours, that video would have 5 million views. In 3 days, Marcus's life would be unrecognizable. But right now, in this moment, he was just a father in a quiet apartment hoping he'd done right by his son. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. Marcus woke to Darius shaking his shoulder. Sunlight streamed through the thin curtains. His phone was ringing, had been ringing, he realized, for a while. Dad, your phone won't stop. Darius's face was worried. Are you sick? You never sleep this late. Marcus checked the time. 9:47 a.m. He'd slept through Darius's alarm, through breakfast time, through the careful morning routine that kept their lives from falling apart. I'm okay, buddy. Just a long night. He sat up still in yesterday's uniform. His cheek throbbed where Ethan had hit him. Why aren't you at school? It's Saturday, Dad. Saturday. Right. Marcus rubbed his face, trying to orient himself. His phone buzzed again. 43 missed calls. 68 text messages. His voicemail was full. Dad, people are outside, Darius said. Mrs. Chen said they're reporters. What's happening? Marcus went to the window. 3 news vans parked on the street, a cluster of people with cameras. Someone spotted him at the window, and the cameras swung up like weapons. Go to your room, Darius. But, now son, please. Darius's face crumpled, but he obeyed. Marcus heard the bedroom door close. He pulled the curtain shut and looked at his phone. Most of the calls were unknown numbers, but there were messages from Raymond, from Catherine Reeves, from numbers he recognized as other Indigo House employees, and one from the Indigo House management. Your employment has been terminated effective immediately for gross misconduct and violation of guest privacy protocols. Your final paycheck will be mailed. Do not return to the premises or contact any current employees. 27 words. 4 years of steady work. Gone. Marcus sat on the edge of his bed. His hands were shaking now. Delayed shock, probably. In the Marines, they'd trained him for this. The adrenaline crash. The moment after the firefight, when your body finally understood what had almost happened. His phone rang again. Catherine Reeves. Mr. Webb, are you at home? Yes, ma'am. Don't open your door. Don't talk to anyone. I'm sending a car to bring you to my office. We need to talk. Now. I can't leave my son alone. There's reporters. The car will take you both. 20 minutes. Pack a bag. You might not be able to come back here for a few days. The line went dead. Marcus stood in his small living room, looking at the life he'd built. The second-hand couch Sarah had reupholstered herself. Darius's drawings taped to the refrigerator. The photo on the shelf, Marcus in his dress uniform, Sarah in her wedding dress, both of them young and stupid, and in love. What had he done? A knock on the door. Mrs. Chen's voice. Marcus, you okay in there? He opened the door a crack. Mrs. Chen was 76, barely 5 feet tall, originally from Taiwan. She'd lived next door for 30 years and had basically adopted Darius after Sarah died. I saw the video, she said quietly. Everyone saw. You're a good man, Marcus Webb. I'm an unemployed man with reporters on my lawn. Still good. She pressed something into his hand. Cash, he realized. $500 bills. For Darius, for groceries. Don't argue. I know you need it. Mrs. Chen, I can't. You can. You will. That boy needs to eat. Your pride doesn't. She patted his hand. My husband, before he passed, he worked for a rich man in Taipei. Saw that man beat his wife many times. Never said anything. Was ashamed of it until the day he died. You did what my husband couldn't. So you take the money. You take care of that baby. And you don't apologize for being brave. She was gone before he could respond. Marcus packed a bag. Clothes for him and Darius. Toiletries. Darius's homework. The stuffed dog. He felt like he was preparing for deployment, not just a trip across town. Darius, come here. His son emerged from the bedroom, eyes red. Are we in trouble? No. But things are going to be different for a while. We're going to stay somewhere else. Just for a bit. Because of what you did last night. Marcus knelt down, meeting Darius's eyes. What do you know about last night? Mrs. Chen told me. She said you saved a lady. A pregnant lady. Darius's voice got small. Did someone hurt her? Like how Mom got hurt? Sarah hadn't been hurt. She'd been sick. But Marcus understood what Darius meant, that helpless feeling of watching someone you love suffer. Yeah, buddy. Someone hurt her, and I tried to help. Did you get in trouble for helping? Yes. That's not fair. No, it's not. Marcus pulled his son into a hug. But sometimes, life isn't fair. Sometimes you do the right thing, and it costs you. But you still do it, because not doing it would cost you more. Does that make sense? Darius nodded against his chest. Mom would be proud of you. Marcus's throat tightened. You think... She always said you were the bravest person she knew, even braver than soldiers, because you were brave even when you were scared. Darius pulled back. You were scared last night, huh? Yeah, I was terrified. But you helped anyway. I helped anyway. A black sedan pulled up outside. Professional. Tinted windows. Marcus grabbed their bags, and they walked out together. Marcus's hand on Darius's shoulder, cameras clicking like locusts. Mr. Webb, Channel 8 News. Can you comment on, Marcus, did Ethan Blackwell threaten you before? Is it true you're planning to sue? Marcus kept walking. Got Darius into the back seat. Climbed in beside him. The driver, a woman in her 30s, professional silent, pulled away smoothly. Darius pressed his face to the window. Are we famous now? For about 15 minutes. Then everyone will forget. Marcus had no idea how wrong he was. Catherine Reeves's office was in a converted warehouse in the design district. Not the gleaming glass tower Marcus had expected, but something grittier, more real. Inside the space was open exposed brick wooden beams, desks scattered with files and laptops. Catherine met them at the door. Late 40s. Black silver-streaked hair, pulled back sharp suit that meant business. Her handshake was firm. Marcus, and this must be Darius. Yes, ma'am. There's a room in the back with Netflix and snacks. My paralegal's daughter is back there too. She's 8. You two can hang out while I talk to your dad. Sound good? Darius looked at Marcus, who nodded. Go ahead, buddy. I'll just be a little bit. In Catherine's office, Marcus sat across from her desk. The walls were covered with photos, women of all ages, all races, all backgrounds. Some smiling, some crying, some fierce. My clients, Catherine said, following his gaze. Every woman I've represented in domestic violence cases over the last 15 years. 37 women. Diane Blackwell will be number 38. She contacted you. This morning, 3 hours ago. Catherine opened a file. She wants to press full charges. She wants a restraining order. She wants a divorce. And she wants custody of their unborn child with no visitation rights for Ethan. Can she get that? With the video evidence, with 300 witnesses, with your testimony? Catherine smiled grimly. Oh yes. We can get that and more. What do you need from me? Everything. I need you to tell me exactly what happened minute by minute. I need you to understand what you're up against. And I need you to decide if you're ready for this fight. Marcus leaned back. What fight? I didn't do anything wrong. That won't matter. Ethan Blackwell has unlimited resources. He's already hired Whitmore and Associates, the best crisis management firm in Dallas. By tonight, there will be articles questioning your character. By Monday, they'll have dug up every mistake you've ever made. I don't have mistakes. I've lived clean. Everyone has something. A bar fight in college. A neighbor dispute. A traffic violation. They'll find something, and they'll blow it up. Catherine folded her hands. They'll say you assaulted Ethan first, that you were drunk on duty, that you're doing this for money or fame. They'll question your military service, your fitness as a father, your financial troubles. How do you know about my financial troubles? Because I looked. If I can find it, they can find it. Unpaid medical bills from Sarah's treatment. Credit card debt. 2 months behind on your truck payment. She held up a hand. I'm not judging. I'm preparing you. Marcus felt exposed. So what do I do? You let me handle them. You don't respond to reporters. You don't post on social media. You don't defend yourself publicly. That's my job. And what about Diane? What does she need? Right now, she needs to feel safe. She's at a hotel. We moved her this morning. Ethan's been calling non-stop, leaving voicemails, sending flowers, the whole routine. Classic abuser behavior. The apology phase. He doesn't seem like the apologizing type. Oh, he won't apologize for what he did. He'll apologize for getting caught. Catherine pulled out her laptop. I want to show you something, but I need to warn you it's not easy to watch. She turned the screen toward him. Security footage from inside a house, nice house, expensive. Kitchen with marble counters. The timestamp said, March 2023, 15 months ago. Diane walked into frame visibly pregnant, but not as far along as now. She was on her phone, laughing at something. Then Ethan appeared, grabbed the phone from her hand, said something, no audio, but his face was twisted with rage. Diane backed up. He advanced, grabbed her by the throat, slammed her against the refrigerator. Marcus watched Diane's feet kick, trying to find purchase. Watched Ethan's hand squeeze. Watched her face turn red. Then Ethan let go. Diane collapsed. He walked away like nothing had happened. "Where did you get this?" Marcus's voice was rough. "Diane. She's been documenting everything for months. She has photos of bruises, medical records from ER visits where she lied about how she got hurt, text messages where Ethan threatens her, recordings of him screaming at her." Catherine closed the laptop. She's been building a case without even knowing it. Survival instinct. Some part of her knew she'd need proof someday. Why didn't she leave before? Because he told her he'd kill her. Because he controlled all the money. Because her family is 3 states away, and he wouldn't let her call them. Because every time she tried to reach out, he found out, and it got worse. Catherine's voice was steady, professional, but Marcus heard the emotion underneath. "You want to know the real reason women stay? Because leaving is the most dangerous time. That's when they're most likely to be killed." Marcus thought about Sarah. How when she was dying, she'd made him promise to take care of Darius. Made him promise to move on eventually, to be happy. She'd been so worried about him being alone, but she'd never had to worry about him hurting her. Never had to plan her escape. Never had to document evidence in case she needed to prove what her own husband had done. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now we file civil suit against Ethan for assault and battery, against Apex Technologies for creating a hostile work environment for female employees. I have 2 other women ready to testify, and we request a temporary restraining order." He'll fight it. Oh, he'll fight everything. He'll tie this up in court for years if he can. But Marcus... Catherine leaned forward. That video changed everything. Without it, Diane's word against his, she'd have a hard road. With it, with 300 witnesses, with you, we can win. At what cost? For you, they'll try to destroy you. For Diane, they'll call her a gold digger, a liar, mentally unstable. For me, Catherine smiled without humor. They'll say I'm exploiting her for publicity. We'll all pay. The question is whether you're willing. Marcus looked at the wall of photos again. 37 women who'd survived, who'd been brave enough to leave to fight to testify. "My son asked me this morning if we were in trouble," he said quietly. "I told him no. But that was a lie, wasn't it?" "You're in trouble. But Marcus, you were in trouble the moment you stepped into that circle. The moment you chose to see what everyone else pretended not to. You can't unknow what you know. You can't unhelp Diane. All you can do is decide whether to see it through." A knock on the door. A young woman stuck her head in Catherine's paralegal. "Sorry to interrupt, but you need to see this." She handed Catherine her phone. Catherine's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. "What is it?" Marcus asked. Catherine turned the phone around. A news article. Blackwell's defender speaks out. Former Apex employee claims CEO is victim of extortion scheme. The article quoted someone named Jennifer Hartley, who'd worked at Apex for 5 years. She claimed Diane had always been manipulative, that Marcus was clearly in on some scheme to extract money from Ethan, that the whole thing was a setup. "Is any of that true?" Marcus asked. Jennifer Hartley is Apex's VP of Communications. She's been with the company for 8 years, not 5. She's also, according to my sources, sleeping with Ethan. Catherine set the phone down. "And so it begins. They're going to throw everything at us." Marcus's phone buzzed. A text from Raymond. "Turn on Channel 5. Catherine grabbed a remote and flicked on the TV. Channel 5 News. A well-dressed anchor looked seriously into the camera. "New developments in the Blackwell assault case. Sources close to the family claim that Marcus Webb, the maintenance worker who intervened at Thursday night's charity gala, has a history of confrontational behavior. A photo appeared on screen. Marcus in his Marine uniform, younger, angrier looking. Someone had chosen the most aggressive photo they could find. Webb served 2 tours in Iraq and 1 in Afghanistan. Military records show he was involved in several incidents. "That's not," Marcus started. "Quiet," Catherine said, eyes on the screen. "Including an altercation with a superior officer that resulted in disciplinary action. Mental health experts we spoke with suggest that PTSD may have played a role in Webb's decision to physically confront Ethan Blackwell." "I didn't physically confront anyone. He hit me." "They're seeding doubt," Catherine said, "making you look unstable, aggressive, so when they claim you assaulted Ethan first, people will believe it." The news segment continued. Ethan Blackwell's attorney released a statement this morning calling the video evidence deliberately misleading and claiming his client is the real victim of assault. They've filed a formal complaint against Webb with the Dallas Police Department. Marcus felt something cold settle in his chest. "They're saying I assaulted him." "Of course they are. And they'll find expert witnesses to back it up. Body language analysts who'll say you moved threateningly. Military experts who'll say your training made you a weapon. It's all theater. But it's lies." "Yes, but lies told often enough with enough money behind them become truth for a lot of people." Catherine muted the TV. "This is what they do, Marcus. They don't fight you in court first. They fight you in public opinion. They make you the villain so that when the real trial happens, half the jury pool already thinks you're guilty." Darius appeared in the doorway, the paralegal's daughter behind him. "Dad, they're talking about you on TV." "I know, buddy. They're saying mean things. They're going to say a lot of mean things, but that doesn't make them true. How come they can lie on TV? Because sometimes people care more about a good story than the truth." Marcus held out his arm, and Darius came over, tucking himself against his father's side. "But we know the truth. That's what matters." Catherine's expression softened slightly. "Darius, can you give us 5 more minutes? Then I promise your dad is all yours." When Darius left, Catherine said, "You need to think about him, about what this will mean for him. Kids at school will know. Parents will talk. He'll hear things. He's tough. He's 9. No 9-year-old should have to be tough about this." Catherine's voice was gentle now. "Marcus, I need you to really think about what you're signing up for. This isn't going to be quick. It's not going to be clean. It's going to be brutal and public and expensive. Not for you, I meant what I said about pro bono, but expensive in every other way. Your privacy, your peace, your son's childhood. What's my alternative? Walk away. Let Diane face this alone." "She wouldn't be alone. I'd represent her regardless." "But without my testimony?" Catherine didn't answer. They both knew what that meant. Without Marcus, it was still Diane's word against Ethan's. The video helped, but Ethan's lawyers would find ways to dismiss it. Call it an accident. Heat of the moment. Mutual combat. Without a credible third-party witness, the case got much harder. Marcus looked at the TV, still showing his photo. His life being dissected by strangers. He thought about Sarah again. About the promise he'd made. "When I was deployed," he said slowly, "I saw a lot of things I couldn't stop. Rules of engagement, chain of command politics. There were always reasons why we couldn't help everyone who needed it. And I carried that home. All those times I could have done something but didn't." He looked at Catherine. "I can't carry another one. I can't be the guy who walked away when it mattered. So whatever it costs, whatever they do to me, I'm in. All the way." Catherine studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Okay, then here's what happens next. Monday morning, we file everything. Diane's restraining order, the civil suit, everything. It'll be public record. The media will explode. You need to be ready. What about work? I need to find another job. Not yet. The moment you start job hunting, Ethan's people will contact every potential employer and poison the well. We need to win this first. In the meantime, she pulled out a checkbook. This is a loan, $5,000, to cover rent and expenses until you're back on your feet. You pay me back when you can. I can't. You can and you will. Because Darius needs to eat, and you need to focus on this case, not on whether you can afford groceries. Pride is expensive, Marcus. Sometimes you have to accept help. Mrs. Chen had said the same thing. Marcus took the check. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Thank me when this is over. Catherine stood. I'm arranging a hotel for you and Darius, somewhere Ethan's people won't find you. Stay there until the restraining order goes through. Don't go home. Don't follow any predictable patterns. You think he'd come after us? I think he's a man who's about to lose everything, and that makes him dangerous. Catherine walked him to the door. I've seen this before, Marcus. Men like Ethan don't accept losing. They escalate. So you stay safe, stay quiet, and let me do my job. In the car back to the hotel, a Holiday Inn near the airport. Anonymous and cheap, Darius fell asleep against Marcus's shoulder. Marcus watched Dallas roll past the windows. This city had been home for 15 years. He knew its rhythms, its neighborhoods, its quiet places and loud ones. Now it felt different. Hostile. Like every car might contain a reporter or a lawyer or someone paid to follow them. His phone rang. Unknown number. Against his better judgment, he answered. Marcus Webb. A man's voice. Smooth. Professional. Who's this? My name is Richard Whitmore. I work for Mr. Blackwell. I'd like to talk to you about Thursday night. Marcus almost hung up, but curiosity stopped him. I have nothing to say to you. I understand, but I'd like to make you an offer. $500,000. In exchange, you issue a public statement saying you misunderstood what happened, that you overreacted, that Mr. Blackwell never struck his wife. We'll handle your legal fees, your lost wages, everything. You walk away whole. You want me to lie? I want you to reconsider what you think you saw. Memory is fallible, Mr. Webb. You intervened in a moment of stress. It's understandable that you might have misinterpreted. He pushed her. She fell. Blood came out of her mouth. Then he hit me. I didn't misinterpret anything. $500,000 is a lot of money, especially for a single father with medical debts and no job. Marcus felt anger rise hot in his chest. How do you know about... We know everything, Mr. Webb. We know you're 2 months behind on your truck. We know you haven't been able to afford Darius's field trips this year. We know Mrs. Chen lends you money sometimes. We know exactly how hard your life is. And you think that means I can be bought? Everyone can be bought. It's just a question of price. Maybe 500 isn't enough. Name your number. Marcus looked at Darius, sleeping against him. Innocent, trusting, believing his father was a hero. There's no number, Marcus said quietly. Because what happened that night can't be bought. It can't be erased. And I'm not going to help you pretend it didn't happen. Then you're a fool. We will destroy you. Maybe. But I'll still be able to look my son in the eye. Can Ethan Blackwell say the same? He hung up. The driver caught his eye in the rearview mirror. That took guts. Or stupidity. Sometimes they're the same thing. The driver smiled slightly. For what it's worth, my sister, she was in a situation like Mrs. Blackwell. Nobody helped her. She didn't make it out. Marcus didn't know what to say to that. The weight of it sat heavy between them. At the hotel, Marcus carried Darius inside. The room was standard 2 beds, bathroom, mini fridge. Not home, but safe. He laid Darius on the bed, pulled off his shoes, covered him with the thin blanket. Then he sat by the window and watched the parking lot. Watched cars come and go. Watched the sun set over Dallas. Watched the city light up like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. His phone buzzed again. A text from Diane. Catherine told me what you did, what you gave up. I don't know how to thank you. Marcus typed back. You already did. You told the truth. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Then, I'm scared. Me too. But you're still here. So are you. A long pause. Then, they're going to make this hell for both of us. Yeah. But we're going to win. Catherine says we're going to win. Marcus looked at his reflection in the dark window. 47 years old, unemployed, being hunted by a billionaire's legal team, his son sleeping in a strange hotel, his life in pieces. Yeah, he typed back, we're going to win. And for the first time since Thursday night, he almost believed it. Monday morning arrived like a storm that had been gathering for days. Marcus woke at 0500 out of habit, reaching for his uniform before remembering he didn't have a job to go to anymore. Beside him in the other bed, Darius was still asleep, curled around his stuffed dog, oblivious to what was about to break over their lives. Catherine had texted at midnight. Filing opens at 8 a.m. Everything goes public at 8:01. Stay off social media. I'll call you after. Marcus made coffee in the tiny hotel room coffee maker, weak and bitter but hot. He scrolled through his phone with a kind of morbid curiosity, watching the narrative take shape. Twitter was already buzzing with speculation. Half the posts called him a hero. The other half called him an opportunist. A think piece in the Dallas Morning News, The Danger of Vigilante Justice When Good Intentions Go Wrong. A counterpiece in The Observer, Why It Took a Working-Class Black Man to Do What 300 Wealthy Witnesses Wouldn't. Everyone had an opinion about Marcus Webb. Nobody knew Marcus Webb. His phone rang. Raymond. You see the news? Raymond's voice was rough with exhaustion. Which news? There's about 15 different versions. The one where they're saying I should have stopped you, that I failed my duty as your supervisor. Raymond laughed, but there was no humor in it. 23 years on the force, 4 years at the Indigo House, spotless record. Now I'm the guy who enabled an assault. Raymond, I'm sorry, I never meant. Don't apologize, you did right. I did right. We both know it. A pause. My daughter called last night, crying. Someone posted our home address online, said I should be ashamed letting a thug like you work there. Marcus closed his eyes. Jesus. It's not your fault, it's theirs. The people so scared of losing their precious access to power that they'll defend anything. Anyone. Raymond's voice hardened. But Marcus, I need you to know I don't regret it. Not for a second. I just regret I didn't move faster. You called it in. You did everything right. I should have walked out there with you. Then we'd both be unemployed. We're both unemployed anyway. Raymond exhaled slowly. Listen, I got a call yesterday. From an old buddy used to work Vice. He said Ethan Blackwell's name came up in an investigation 3 years ago. Nothing that stuck, but there was smoke. Marcus sat up straighter. What kind of investigation? The kind involving a 23-year-old intern who ended up in the hospital with a broken wrist and a story that kept changing. The kind where suddenly the intern gets a settlement and an NDA and transfers to Blackwell's Seattle office. Did you tell Catherine? Already did. She's tracking down the intern, trying to see if she'll talk. Raymond paused. This isn't a one-time thing, Marcus. This is a pattern. And now that you kick the rock over, everything underneath is crawling out. After Raymond hung up, Marcus sat in the dark hotel room and tried to process what that meant. Diane wasn't the first. Might not even be the second or third. How many women had Ethan Blackwell hurt? How many had taken the money and stayed quiet because that was the only option they had? Darius stirred, rolled over, blinked at the unfamiliar ceiling. Where are we? Hotel, remember we're staying here for a bit. How long? I don't know yet, buddy. Darius sat up, rubbing his eyes. Can I go to school? Marcus hadn't thought about that. School meant routine normalcy, but it also meant exposure, Other kids asking questions. Teachers watching Darius differently. Parents whispering. Not today. Maybe tomorrow. Am I in trouble? No. You didn't do anything wrong. Then why can't I go to school? How do you explain this to a 9-year-old? How do you say that doing the right thing sometimes makes you a target, that being brave sometimes means everyone you love becomes collateral damage? Because things are complicated right now, Marcus said finally, and I need to keep you safe while we figure them out. Darius accepted this with the resilience of a kid who'd already lost his mother, who'd already learned that sometimes life just changed without warning or explanation. They ate breakfast in the hotel lobby, stale muffins and orange juice from a machine. A woman at the next table kept glancing at Marcus, recognition dawning on her face. She leaned over to her husband, whispered something. The husband looked up, stared. Marcus felt Darius tense beside him. It's okay, Marcus said quietly. Let them look. Why are they staring? Because they saw the video. They know who I am. Is that bad? I don't know yet. The woman stood up, walked over. Marcus braced himself for confrontation. But when she spoke, her voice was gentle. I just wanted to say thank you. For what you did. She glanced at her husband. We were there, at the gala. We saw everything, and we... Her voice caught. We didn't do anything. We just stood there. I've been ashamed of that every day since. Marcus didn't know what to say. The woman's eyes were wet. You were braver than all of us, she continued. And I wanted you to know that. I wanted your son to know that his father is a good man. She walked away before Marcus could respond. Darius looked up at him with something like pride. See, you're a hero. I'm just a guy who couldn't walk away. That's what heroes are, Dad. At 8:47 a.m., Catherine called. It's done. Everything's filed. Restraining order requested. Civil suit filed. Press conference scheduled for 2 p.m. Press conference. Diane wants to speak publicly. She needs to tell her story before Ethan's people twist it any further. I need you there, standing with her, showing the world she's not alone. Catherine, I don't do press conferences. You do now. This isn't about you anymore, Marcus. It's about every woman watching who's in the same situation. They need to see that speaking up is possible, that people will stand with them. What about Darius? Bring him, or I can arrange childcare, your choice. Marcus looked at his son, who was watching cartoons on his phone, blissfully unaware that in a few hours, his father would be on every news channel in America. I'll bring him. He should see this. Good. We're doing this at the courthouse steps. 2 o'clock. Don't be late. And Marcus, wear something nice. This is the image that's going to define how people see you. Marcus owned one suit, one. Navy blue bought for Sarah's funeral hadn't been worn since. It still smelled faintly of the church incense from that day. He put it on in the hotel bathroom, tied his tie 3 times before getting it right. Stared at himself in the mirror. He looked tired. Old. The bruise on his cheek had faded to yellow-green. His eyes had dark circles. This was the face that was about to represent something bigger than himself, and he wasn't sure it was up to the task. You look fancy, Darius said from the doorway. Feel ridiculous. Mom said you looked handsome in suits. Marcus smiled despite himself. Your mom was biased. She was right, though. Darius came over, fiddled with Marcus's collar. You got this, Dad. You sound like a motivational poster. Mrs. Chen has a lot of them. They're cheesy, but they work. The drive to the courthouse took 30 minutes. Catherine had sent a car, again the same driver from Saturday. She nodded when Marcus got in. Ready for the circus? No. Good answer. People who say yes are usually lying. The courthouse was downtown, an imposing building with Roman columns and wide stone steps. News vans were everywhere. Cameras, reporters. A crowd had gathered, some holding signs supporting Diane, others supporting Ethan. The divide was stark and immediate. Catherine met them at a side entrance. She'd brought someone with her, a woman Marcus didn't recognize. Late 20s, black professional, but approachable. "Marcus, this is Angela Price. She's going to stay with Darius during the press conference. Angela's a social worker. She's good with kids." "Hi, Darius." Angela crouched down to his level. "I hear you like video games. I got a Switch in my bag. You want to play while your dad does boring adult stuff?" Darius looked at Marcus, who nodded. "I'll be right over there. You can see me the whole time." Inside a small conference room, Diane was waiting. She looked different than she had on the ballroom floor, stronger somehow, despite the fear still visible in her eyes. Her hair was pulled back. She wore a simple black dress, no jewelry. Her belly was pronounced, now, impossible to hide. "Marcus." She stood, extended her hand. Her grip was firm. "Thank you for coming. Wasn't going to leave you to do this alone." "Most people would." She sat back down, one hand unconsciously protective over her stomach. "Catherine showed me the statements Ethan's lawyers released this morning. They're saying I'm mentally unstable, that I made everything up, that I'm trying to steal money in the divorce." Anyone who watches that video will know that's garbage. You'd be surprised what people can convince themselves to believe when it's convenient. Diane's voice was bitter. "I've already gotten death threats. People saying I'm destroying a good man's life, that I'm a whore who trapped him with a baby, that I deserve whatever I got." Marcus felt anger rise hot in his chest. People are saying that. People say a lot of things when they're anonymous and angry. Catherine cut in. "Which is why this press conference matters. We control the narrative today. We tell the truth before they can bury it in lies." A knock on the door. One of Catherine's paralegals stuck her head in. "It's time. The cameras are ready." They walked out together. Catherine first, then Diane, then Marcus. The courthouse steps were packed. Cameras clicked like a swarm of mechanical insects. Reporters shouted questions that blurred together into white noise. Catherine stepped to the microphone. "Thank you all for coming. My name is Catherine Reeves and I represent Diane Blackwell. My client has a statement she'd like to make. Please hold all questions until the end." Diane stepped forward. Her hands shook slightly, but her voice was steady. "My name is Diane Blackwell. 4 nights ago, my husband pushed me to the ground at a charity gala in front of 300 witnesses. This was not the first time he'd hurt me. It was just the first time anyone saw." Her voice caught, but she pushed through. "For 3 years, I lived in fear. Ethan controlled everything: my phone, my money, my relationships. He isolated me from my family. He threatened me. He told me that if I ever left, he would destroy me. That no one would believe me. That I had nothing and was nothing without him." A reporter started to interrupt, but Catherine shut them down with a look. "I believed him," Diane continued. "I believed I was trapped. I believed no one would help. And then Marcus Webb, a man I'd never met, a man who had everything to lose and nothing to gain, stepped between me and my husband and said no. Just that. No." She turned slightly, looked at Marcus. "He didn't know me, didn't owe me anything, but he saw me. He saw what was happening, and he decided it mattered. And because of his courage, I found mine." Diane faced the cameras again. "I'm filing for divorce. I have a restraining order against Ethan, and I'm pressing charges not just for what happened at the gala, but for years of abuse. I have documentation, evidence, medical records, and I have my voice, which I'm not going to let anyone silence anymore." The reporters erupted with questions. Diane stepped back, visibly shaking. Catherine moved to the microphone. "We'll take 3 questions. Is it true you're seeking 50% of Mr. Blackwell's assets?" "We're seeking what my client is legally entitled to under Texas law, which includes compensation for emotional and physical harm." "Mr. Webb." Another reporter. "Are you being paid to support Mrs. Blackwell's claims?" Marcus stepped forward before Catherine could stop him. No, I'm here because it's the right thing to do. Nobody's paying me. Nobody needs to. What I saw that night was real. What Diane survived was real. And standing up to it shouldn't be complicated. Do you regret intervening? You lost your job. Your reputation is being attacked. I regret that I live in a world where intervening was necessary. I regret that 300 people saw a pregnant woman on the ground and did nothing. But I don't regret helping her. Not for a second. A woman reporter in the front, Marcus recognized her from Channel 8, raised her hand. Mrs. Blackwell, what do you say to people who claim you're lying about the abuse? Diane stepped back to the microphone. Her voice was stronger now. I say watch the video. Look at the evidence. Talk to the other women Ethan hurt. Because I'm not the first. I'm just the first one who's willing to fight back publicly. That line made headlines within minutes. Other women. The floodgates opened right there on the courthouse steps. Catherine wrapped up the press conference. They walked back inside, the roar of questions fading behind closed doors. In the conference room, Diane collapsed into a chair. I did it! Oh my God, I actually did it! You were incredible, Catherine said. I was terrified. Same thing sometimes. Catherine pulled out her phone. It's already trending. The hashtag is Justice for Diane. We're controlling the conversation. Marcus found Darius with Angela, both of them absorbed in a racing game. Darius looked up, grinned. Dad, Angela says you were on TV. Yeah, buddy, for a minute. Did you say something cool? I said the truth. That's cooler than anything made up. Angela stood, shook Marcus's hand. He's a great kid. You're doing something right. Trying to. His phone buzzed. Raymond. Saw the press conference. You're a natural. Also, my buddy says the intern is willing to talk. She's scared, but she's willing. This is happening, Marcus. Another text. Unknown number. You just made a powerful enemy. Enjoy what's left of your pathetic life. Marcus deleted it without responding. There would be more like that. Dozens, probably hundreds. People who believed Ethan's version or just enjoyed cruelty for its own sake. Catherine pulled him aside. That line about other women, Diane didn't clear that with me first. It's going to accelerate things. Is that bad? It's pressure. On us to produce evidence on them, to respond on other victims, to come forward. It could go either way. Catherine looked tired suddenly. We're about to find out how many women Ethan Blackwell hurt, and every single one of them is going to have to decide if they're brave enough to speak up. You think they will. Some will, some won't. Can't blame the ones who don't. They've got their own lives to protect. But the ones who do... Catherine smiled grimly. They're going to bury him. That night, back at the hotel, Marcus let Darius order room service, a small luxury they couldn't afford. But Marcus needed his son to feel like something was normal. They ate burgers and fries on the beds, watching cartoons, pretending the world outside wasn't dissecting their lives frame by frame. Darius fell asleep early, exhausted by the stress he didn't fully understand. Marcus sat by the window again, phone in hand, scrolling through the aftermath. The press conference had been viewed 8 million times. The hashtag was trending globally. But for every supportive comment, there was a vicious one. People calling Diane a liar, calling Marcus a fool, saying they were both in it for money, for fame, for anything except the truth. A new email from someone named Jennifer Park. The subject line, I was an intern at Apex in 2021. Marcus opened it with shaking hands. Mr. Webb, I don't know if you'll read this. I don't know if it matters. But I saw the press conference today. I heard Mrs. Blackwell say there were other women. She's right. I was one of them. I was 22. It was my first real job. Ethan was charming at first, then controlling, then violent. He broke my wrist during an argument about a presentation. Then he paid me $150,000 to sign an NDA and transfer to Seattle. I took the money because I was scared and broke and didn't think anyone would believe me. But I kept my medical records. I kept everything. If it helps Mrs. Blackwell, if it helps you, I'm willing to break my NDA. I'm willing to testify. Because what you did standing up when everyone else walked away, it made me realize I've been walking away from myself for 3 years. I want to stop walking. Please tell Catherine Reeves to call me. There was a phone number at the bottom. Marcus forwarded the email to Catherine with one word, now. She called back within 2 minutes. Holy shit. That's one. If she testifies, her NDA violation will cost her everything she got in the settlement. Maybe more. She knows. She's willing. Then this just became a different case. Catherine's voice was electric with possibility. 1 victim is a he said, she said. 2 victims is a pattern. 3 or more. That's a serial abuser. That's criminal charges beyond simple assault. That's prison time. How long before Ethan's lawyers know she's talking? They'll know by morning. They'll threaten her. Offer her more money to stay quiet. Try to intimidate her. What do? We move fast. I'm calling her tonight, getting her statement on record before they can get to her. And Marcus. Catherine paused. This is what standing up looks like. It's not one moment. It's 1,000 moments. Every single one requiring courage. I just forwarded an email. You did more than that. You showed her it was possible. That's worth more than you know. After Catherine hung up, Marcus sat in the dark hotel room and listened to Darius's breathing. Steady, peaceful, trusting that his father would keep him safe, would make the right choices, would be the hero Darius believed him to be. Marcus wasn't sure he was that person, but he was trying. God, he was trying. His phone buzzed again. Diane, I saw your interview clips. Thank you for saying what you said, for not backing down. Marcus typed, thank you for being brave enough to speak. I'm not brave. I'm terrified. That's what bravery is, being terrified and doing it anyway. Did someone tell you that or did you make it up? My drill sergeant told me, right before my first combat mission. Were you scared then? Out of my mind. But you went anyway. Didn't have a choice. Turning back would have been worse than going forward. A long pause. Then, that's what this feels like. Like going forward is terrifying, but going back is impossible. Then we keep going forward. What if we lose? Marcus looked at Darius again. Thought about Jennifer Park willing to sacrifice her settlement to tell the truth. Thought about Diane standing on those courthouse steps, voice shaking, but words clear. Then we lose, knowing we tried. That's better than winning by staying silent. You really believe that? I have to. It's the only thing I got left. Another pause. My baby kicked today. First time I've felt it kick since the gala. Like she knows things are different now. Safer. I found out last week. Didn't tell anyone yet. Ethan wanted a boy. What do you want? I want her to grow up knowing her mother was strong enough to leave, strong enough to fight, strong enough to choose her safety over everything else. She'll know, because you're doing exactly that. We're doing it, all of us. You, me, Catherine, Jennifer, whoever else comes forward. We're doing it together. Marcus felt something shift in his chest. For 3 days, he'd felt alone, targeted, exposed, vulnerable. But Diane was right. They weren't alone. They were building something one voice at a time, one act of courage at a time. Get some sleep, he typed. Tomorrow's going to be another long day. You too, and Marcus. When this is over, when we win, I want you to meet her, my daughter. I want her to know the man who saved both our lives. Marcus stared at that message for a long time. A daughter who didn't exist yet. A future that was still uncertain. A promise that presumed they'd make it through the storm. I'd be honored, he typed back. He set his phone down and closed his eyes. Sleep didn't come easy. It hadn't since Thursday night, probably wouldn't for a while yet. But when it finally arrived, Marcus dreamed of Sarah. She was sitting at their kitchen table, the one they'd bought at a garage sale and refinished together. Sunlight through the window, coffee in her hands. "You're doing good," she said. "I lost my job, put Darius in danger, made enemies of people with unlimited resources." "Still doing good," she smiled. "You know how I know." "How?" "Because Darius is going to grow up remembering this. Not the hotel rooms, or the threats, or the fear. He's going to remember that his father saw someone who needed help and he helped. That's the inheritance that matters, Marcus. Not money, not security, character. I'm scared I'm not enough. Not strong enough, not smart enough. You're enough. You've always been enough. You just forgot for a while." She reached across the table, took his hand. "Don't forget again." Marcus woke with tears on his face. The hotel room was gray with pre-dawn light. Darius was still asleep. The world outside was quiet that brief moment before Dallas woke up and remembered what it was angry about. He got up, made terrible hotel coffee, stood at the window watching the city prepare itself for another day of taking sides, another day of judging people it didn't know for choices it didn't understand. His phone lit up. Catherine. "Jennifer's statement is recorded and notarized. 2 more women contacted me overnight, both former Apex employees, both with stories, both willing to testify. We're building something, Marcus. Something that's going to change everything." Marcus typed back, "Then let's finish what we started." Because that was the thing about courage. It wasn't a moment, it was a commitment. Not a single choice, but a series of them, each one harder than the last, each one requiring you to believe that doing right mattered more than doing easy. And Marcus Webb, 47-year-old widower, unemployed maintenance supervisor, single father, had made his choice on Thursday night. Now, he just had to see it through. The women started coming forward on Tuesday. Not just Jennifer Park, but others. By Wednesday morning, Catherine had statements from 5 women, all with similar stories, all carrying the same scars. Each phone call that came in felt like vindication and heartbreak in equal measure. Marcus sat in Catherine's office while she took the 6th call of the day. A woman named Lisa Chen, marketing director at Apex from 2019 to 2021. Her voice crackled through the speakerphone, trembling but determined. "He cornered me in the parking garage after a product launch," Lisa said. "Said I'd done excellent work, that he wanted to reward me personally. Then his hand was on my waist, moving lower, and when I pushed him away, he grabbed my arm so hard it bruised. Told me I was being ungrateful. That women like me should appreciate the opportunities he gave us." Catherine's pen moved steadily across her legal pad. "Did you report it?" "To HR. They said they'd investigate. 2 days later, I was called into a meeting with Ethan's attorney. They offered me a promotion and a $50,000 bonus if I'd sign a statement saying it was a misunderstanding, that Ethan was just being friendly and I'd misread the situation." "Did you take it?" A long pause. "Yes. I had student loans. My mother needed surgery. I told myself it wasn't that bad, that maybe I had misread it, that $50,000 would change my life." Her voice broke. "But it didn't change my life. It just bought my silence." "Lisa, are you willing to testify to this, in court under oath?" "That's why I'm calling. The bonus contract said if I ever spoke about the incident, I'd have to pay it all back plus damages. I've spent most of it. I don't have $50,000, but I don't care anymore. Let them sue me. Let them take everything. I can't carry this alone anymore." After Catherine hung up, she looked at Marcus with something like awe. 6 women, in 3 days. All willing to testify, all willing to break their NDAs, all willing to risk financial ruin. Because of Diane. Because of you. You showed them it was possible to stand up. Now they're standing. Marcus's phone buzzed. A text from Darius's school the principal wanted to meet. Marcus's stomach dropped. He'd enrolled Darius back in classes yesterday hoping for normalcy. Apparently that was too much to ask. "I have to go," he told Catherine. "School thing? Everything okay?" "Probably not." The drive to Darius's elementary school took 15 minutes through mid-morning Dallas traffic. Marcus had been to this school dozens of times, parent-teacher conferences, field trip permissions, the Christmas concert where Darius forgot his lines but smiled through it anyway. It had always felt safe. Now it felt like walking into enemy territory. Principal Morrison met him in her office. She was 50-something, kind-faced, the type who became a principal because she actually cared about kids. But today her expression was strained. "Mr. Webb, thank you for coming in." "What happened? Is Darius hurt?" "No, nothing like that. But we've had some concerns raised by other parents about the media attention surrounding you and its impact on the school environment." Marcus felt his jaw tighten. "What kind of concerns?" Morrison shifted uncomfortably. "Several parents have expressed worry about having their children in class with Darius, given the current situation. They're concerned about reporters showing up about their own children being filmed or photographed. One parent," she paused, "one parent specifically requested that Darius be placed in a different class from her daughter. Because of me. Because I helped a woman who was being beaten." "Mr. Webb, I'm not defending it. I'm just telling you what's happening. We've had calls, emails. One parent threatened to pull their child from the school entirely if we didn't address their concerns." "And are you addressing their concerns by removing my son?" "No, absolutely not. Darius stays in his class. But I wanted you to be aware that there may be some social difficulty. Other children might say things they've heard from their parents. Other parents might not allow playdates." Marcus thought about Darius asking if Tommy could come over. Tommy's mother was probably one of the parents complaining. "Has Darius done anything wrong?" "Nothing at all. He's a model student. Sweet, hardworking, kind to everyone." "Then why are we having this conversation?" Morrison met his eyes. "Because I wanted to tell you personally that this school stands with you. What you did took courage. And we're not going to punish your son because his father did the right thing. But I also can't control what happens outside these walls. Parents will make their own choices about who their children associate with." "So Darius gets isolated because his father stood up to a billionaire?" "I'm afraid so. At least for a while. Until the news cycle moves on." Marcus wanted to rage against the injustice of it, but he was too tired, too worn down by 3 days of being public property. "Can I talk to him, see how he's doing?" "Of course." Morrison walked Marcus to Darius's classroom. Through the window in the door, Marcus could see his son at a desk near the back, head down over a math worksheet. Other kids worked around him, but there was a notable space. None of the desks immediately adjacent to Darius were occupied. Whether by choice or accident, Darius was isolated. The teacher stepped out when Morrison knocked. Mrs. Patterson. 30 years of experience, warm eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Mr. Webb, I'm glad you're here." "How's he doing?" "He's struggling. Not academically, his work is fine. But socially, he's withdrawn. At recess today, he sat by himself. When I asked if he wanted to join the soccer game, he said no one would want him on their team." Marcus felt something crack in his chest. "Did something happen?" "One of the other boys, I won't name names, told Darius his father was a troublemaker who got people fired, that his family should be ashamed. I addressed it immediately, but the damage was done." "I need to see him." Mrs. Patterson nodded. "Take your time." Darius looked up when Marcus entered, surprise and relief flooding his face. "Dad? What are you doing here?" "Came to check on you. Principal Morrison said I could pull you out for lunch. You hungry?" Darius glanced at the other kids who were watching with open curiosity, then back at Marcus. Yeah, I'm hungry." They went to a diner 3 blocks from school, the same one they'd gone to after Sarah's funeral, where Darius had ordered pancakes and barely touched them. Today he ordered a burger and actually ate it, which Marcus took as a good sign. "You want to tell me what happened today?" Marcus asked. Darius focused on his fries. "Nothing happened. Mrs. Patterson said a boy said something to you." "It's fine." "Darius." His son looked up, eyes wet. "He said you're a liar. that you made everything up to get famous, that Mr. Blackwell is a good man who helps people and you're trying to destroy him for money. And what did you say? Nothing, because I don't know what's true anymore. Everyone says different things. The TV says one thing, the other kids say another thing, and I just want it to be normal again. Marcus reached across the table, took Darius's hand. I know you do, buddy, and I'm sorry it's not. I'm sorry my choices made your life harder. Are you lying about what happened? No, I'm telling the truth. I saw Mr. Blackwell hurt his wife. I saw him hit me. Everything I said happened exactly the way I said. Then why do people think you're lying? Because it's easier to believe that than to believe someone they admire could do something terrible. Because money and power can buy a lot of things, including doubt. Marcus squeezed Darius's hand. But son, I need you to understand something. The truth doesn't change just because people don't want to believe it. Mrs. Blackwell was hurt. That's a fact. And I helped her. That's also a fact. Everything else is just noise. But the noise is really loud, Dad. Yeah, it is. Marcus smiled sadly. You know what your mom used to say? She said the truth is like a rock. Doesn't matter how much water rushes over it, how much wind tries to wear it down. It's still a rock, still solid, still there. I miss Mom. Me too, buddy. Every single day. They ate in silence for a while. Then Darius said quietly, Tommy's not allowed to be my friend anymore. His mom said so. There it was. The cost tallied in a 9-year-old's currency of lost friendships and playground isolation. I'm sorry. It's not your fault. It is, though. My choice to help Mrs. Blackwell meant this would happen to you. I knew it might, and I did it anyway. Would you do it different if you could go back? Marcus thought about that. About Thursday night, about the choice he'd made, about everything that had cascaded from it. His job, his reputation, his son's happiness. No, he said finally, because if I walked away, then I'd have to live with being the kind of man who walks away. And I don't want to be that man, especially not for you. Darius nodded slowly. Mrs. Chen says being good is harder than being mean. That's why more people choose mean. Mrs. Chen's a smart lady. She also says you're the bravest person she knows, except for her husband who fought in a war. I didn't fight in a war, not like he did. You're fighting now, though, against Mr. Blackwell. Yeah, I guess I am. Are you going to win? Marcus looked at his son, 9 years old, too young to carry this weight, too old to be protected from it entirely. Sarah would have known what to say, she always did. But Sarah wasn't here, so Marcus had to figure it out himself. I don't know if I'm going to win, but I'm going to fight as hard as I can. And sometimes that's enough. They finished lunch, and Marcus drove Darius back to school. Before his son got out of the truck, Marcus said, If it gets too hard, if the other kids are too mean, you tell me. We'll figure something else out. Like what? I don't know yet, but we'll figure it out together. Darius nodded, grabbed his backpack, started to open the door. Then he turned back and hugged Marcus fiercely. I'm proud of you, Dad, even if Tommy's mom isn't. After Darius disappeared into the school building, Marcus sat in the parking lot and let himself feel everything he'd been holding back. The fear, the anger, the bone-deep exhaustion of being under siege. His phone buzzed with another message, another reporter request, another notification that someone somewhere was dissecting his life for entertainment. He almost ignored it, but the name caught his eye. Richard Whitmore, Ethan's crisis manager. Final offer, $1 million. You issue a statement saying you were mistaken, that emotions were high and you reacted without full information. You apologize to Mr. Blackwell publicly. The money is yours tax-free in an offshore account. You and your son disappear. Live your life. Let this go. $1 million. Enough to pay off every debt. Enough to move somewhere Darius could start fresh, where no one knew their names or their story. Enough to be done with all of this. Marcus stared at the message for a long time. Thought about Darius sitting alone at recess. Thought about lost friendships and playground whispers. thought about how easy it would be to take the money and run. Then he thought about Diane, standing on those courthouse steps, voice shaking but words clear. Thought about Jennifer Park and Lisa Chen and the other women who'd found courage because he'd shown them it was possible. He typed back, "No, and stop asking." Whitmore's response was immediate. "Then you're a fool. We will destroy you." "You can try." Marcus put the phone away and drove back to Catherine's office. When he walked in, she was on the phone taking notes rapidly. She waved him to a chair. "Yes, I understand the risk. Yes, I know what the NDA says, but Mrs. Blackwell isn't bound by your client's contracts with other employees. She has every right to name witnesses to a pattern of behavior." Catherine's voice was steel. "So you can threaten lawsuits all you want. We'll see you in court." She hung up, and immediately her phone rang again. She ignored it. That was Blackwell's legal team. They're threatening to sue every woman who's come forward for NDA violations, trying to scare them back into silence. Will it work? Maybe for some, but not all. Jennifer Park just hired her own attorney. She's countersuing for wrongful termination and workplace harassment. She's going public tomorrow with her full story. "They offered me $1 million, Marcus said. "Just now. To walk away." Catherine wasn't surprised. "And you said no." "Good. Because they would have paid you the money and then sued you for defamation anyway. Made you look like a liar and a mercenary. It was a trap. Everything's a trap with these people. Welcome to fighting the powerful. Every move is calculated. Every gesture has an angle." Catherine pulled up something on her laptop. "But we've got our own moves. The DA's office called. They're opening a criminal investigation based on the accumulating evidence. Not just for the assault on Diane, but potential charges of witness intimidation, obstruction of justice." Will it stick? "Depends on how many women are willing to testify. Right now we've got 6. We need at least 10 to establish a clear pattern. 20 would be overwhelming." "You think 20 women will come forward?" "I think we're just getting started." Catherine showed him her email inbox. "I've gotten 43 inquiries in the last 24 hours. Not all of them will have credible claims. Some will be looking for attention or money. But even if half of them are legitimate, we're looking at a much bigger case than anyone anticipated." Marcus's head spun. This started with one woman on a ballroom floor. It always starts with one. Then others realize they're not alone. Catherine closed her laptop. "Marcus, I need to prepare you for what's coming. When Jennifer goes public tomorrow, when more women start coming forward, Ethan's people are going to shift tactics. They've tried buying you off. That didn't work. Now they'll try to break you." "What does that mean?" "It means they'll go after everything you care about. Your son, your reputation, your past. They'll dig up every mistake, every bad decision, every moment of weakness, and they'll use it to paint you as unfit, as a bad father, as someone with ulterior motives." "I don't have ulterior motives. I just helped someone." "That won't matter. They'll create motives. Suggest you're working with Diane to split the settlement, that you're seeking fame, that you have some personal vendetta against successful men." Catherine's voice softened. "I've seen them do this before. They're very good at it." Marcus thought about Darius, about losing him, about someone suggesting he was an unfit father. The fear that lived in every single parent's heart magnified 1,000 times. "They can't take my son. Can they?" "Not easily. You'd have to be proven unfit, and there's no evidence of that. But they can make your life miserable. They can drag you into court repeatedly, force you to defend your choices over and over again. So what do I do? You live your life as cleanly as possible. You don't give them ammunition. You be the man you've always been, a good father, a decent person, someone who did the right thing." Catherine paused. "And you trust that the truth is stronger than their lies." That night, Marcus took Darius to Mrs. Chen's apartment. She'd invited them for dinner, her famous dumplings that Darius loved. The old woman's kitchen was warm and fragrant, steam rising from pots, the radio playing soft Mandarin music. You look tired, Mrs. Chen said to Marcus, pushing a plate of dumplings toward him. Eat. You're too skinny. I'm not skinny. I'm stressed. Same thing. Stress burns the body from inside. She turned to Darius. And you, little one, why so quiet? Darius picked at his food. Kids at school are being mean. Kids are always mean. It's in their nature. Like puppies who bite before they learn better. Mrs. Chen sat down, her movements slow with age. When I was a girl in Taiwan, my father spoke out against the government. Said things that needed saying but were dangerous to say. Other families stopped talking to us. Children I played with weren't allowed near me anymore. I was very sad. Very lonely. What did you do? Darius asked. I learned that some people will always choose safety over friendship, and those people aren't worth crying over. She reached over, tapped Darius's chest. Real friends stay. Fair weather friends leave. You're learning early who's who. That's a gift even if it doesn't feel like one. But I miss Tommy. Of course you do. Missing people is normal. But Tommy's mother made him choose between his friendship with you and her approval. That's not fair to Tommy, and it's not fair to you. You don't want friends who can be taken away that easily. Marcus watched his son process this, saw the pain and the wisdom fighting for space on his young face. My father, Mrs. Chen continued, used to say that living with honor costs something. But living without it costs everything. Your father understands this. That's why he helped Mrs. Blackwell even though it was hard. Even though it cost him. Because living with himself mattered more than living easy. Will it always be this hard? Darius asked. No. People forget. News moves on. 6 months from now, a year, this will be a memory. Other things will matter more. But what your father did, that stays. That's forever. When you're older, when you have your own children, you'll be able to say, my father stood up when others walked away. That's a legacy worth having. After dinner, Darius fell asleep on Mrs. Chen's couch, while she and Marcus drank tea at her small kitchen table. The window looked out over the parking lot, over the modest neighborhood they called home. You're doing the right thing, Mrs. Chen said quietly. Doesn't feel like it. Feels like I'm drowning and pulling my son down with me. The right thing rarely feels right while you're doing it. It's only later looking back that you see why it mattered. She sipped her tea. My husband, he died ashamed because he never stood up. He carried that shame for 40 years. You will not carry that. Your son will not carry that. Whatever happens, you'll both be free. What if we lose everything? You can't lose what matters. You have your son, your integrity, your courage. Everything else is just noise. Marcus wanted to believe that. Wanted to believe that honor and courage were enough. But sitting in Mrs. Chen's kitchen, exhausted and scared, it felt like cold comfort against the machinery of power working to crush him. His phone buzzed. Catherine. Jennifer's interview drops in the morning. Be ready, it's going to get loud. Then another text. This one from a number he didn't recognize. I'm Elizabeth Morrison. I worked at Apex from 2018 to 2020. I saw what Ethan Blackwell did to women there. I was too scared to speak up before. But I'm not scared anymore. Tell Catherine I'm ready to talk. Marcus showed the message to Mrs. Chen. That's number 7. 7 women willing to testify. It's an avalanche, Mrs. Chen said. You pushed one stone. Now the whole mountain is moving. I'm just one person. I just did what anyone should have done. That's what makes it powerful. You're not special. You're not a hero. You're just a man who couldn't walk away. And that means everyone watching has to ask themselves, why did I walk away? Why didn't I do what he did? She smiled. You're holding up a mirror. Marcus Webb. People don't like what they see. Marcus carried Darius to the truck, the boy barely stirring. Back at the hotel, he tucked his son into bed, pulled the covers up, stood watching him sleep. 9 years old. So much innocence left. So much hardness ahead. I'm sorry, Marcus whispered. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you from this. But I promise it'll be worth it. His phone lit up with a notification. Jennifer Park's interview had posted early. 22 minutes of her telling her story in careful, painful detail. The broken wrist, the NDA, the settlement, the shame she'd carried for 3 years. And at the end, the reporter asked, "What made you decide to come forward now?" Jennifer's answer was simple. "Because Marcus Webb showed me what courage looks like, and I decided I wanted some of that for myself." The video was already trending, comments flooding in by the thousands. The narrative shifting in real time. One woman's story became two. Two became seven. Seven would become more. Marcus turned off his phone and lay in the dark. Tomorrow would bring more chaos, more attacks, more women coming forward, more pressure mounting, more of everything that made this fight feel impossible. But tonight, in this moment, Marcus felt something shift. Not victory, it was too early for that. But possibility. The sense that maybe, just maybe, they weren't going to lose. His last thought before sleep came was of Sarah. Her smile. Her voice saying what she'd always said when things got hard. "We're Webbs. We don't quit." "We don't quit," Marcus whispered into the dark hotel room. And somewhere across Dallas, Diane Blackwell was probably saying the same thing. So was Jennifer Park. So was Elizabeth Morrison and Lisa Chen and all the other women who'd decided that silence was more expensive than speaking. They were all in this together now. An army of people who'd decided that enough was enough. That one billionaire's power didn't outweigh the truth. That doing right mattered more than staying safe. It wasn't much, but it was something. And sometimes something is enough to change everything. Jennifer Park's interview changed everything overnight. By Thursday morning, 11 more women had contacted Catherine. By Friday afternoon, the number was 23. Each story carried its own weight of pain and silence, but together they formed something undeniable, a pattern so clear that even Ethan Blackwell's expensive lawyers couldn't explain it away. Marcus watched it unfold from the hotel room that had become his temporary home. The news coverage shifted from alleged incident to mounting allegations to serial predator. Financial analysts started questioning Apex Technologies' stability. Stock prices dropped. Major clients issued statements about reviewing their contracts. The empire Ethan had built was cracking foundation first. Saturday morning, Catherine called with news that made Marcus's hands shake. The Dallas County DA is filing criminal charges. Multiple counts of assault, battery, witness intimidation, and obstruction of justice. Ethan Blackwell will be arrested Monday morning. Marcus sat down on the edge of the bed. "You're sure?" "I just got off the phone with DA Mitchell. She said your testimony combined with the security footage, combined with 23 women's statements, makes this the strongest case she's seen in 15 years. Catherine's voice carried exhaustion and triumph in equal measure. "Marcus, we're going to win. Actually win. He's going to prison." "How long?" "If convicted on all counts, could be 15 to 20 years. Texas takes domestic violence seriously when there's a pattern. And this," she laughed, slightly hysterical, "this is one hell of a pattern." After hanging up, Marcus sat in silence. Darius was at Mrs. Chen's apartment, giving Marcus space to process. The hotel room felt smaller, suddenly filled with the weight of what was coming. Victory. Justice. The end of the fight he'd never meant to start. His phone rang again. Diane. "Catherine told me," she said. Her voice was thick with tears. "They're actually going to arrest him, put him on trial, make him answer for what he did." "Yeah, they are. I didn't think this would really happen. Even with everything, all the evidence, all the women coming forward, I didn't let myself believe it was possible." She sobbed once, then steadied herself. "Thank you. God, Marcus, thank you. You did this. You and all the other women. You just showed us it was possible. Don't minimize that. Don't you dare minimize that." They talked for another 10 minutes, Diane crying and laughing and processing 3 years of fear turning into something like freedom. When they hung up, Marcus felt something he hadn't allowed himself to feel since Thursday night at the Gala Hope. Sunday, Marcus took Darius to church. They weren't regular attendees, but Sarah had believed, and sometimes Marcus found comfort in the ritual of it. The small Baptist church in Oak Cliff where they'd held Sarah's funeral. Where people knew them, knew their story. When they walked in, the congregation's reaction was immediate. Some people smiled and nodded. Others looked away. A few whispered behind their bulletins. Marcus felt Darius press closer to his side. They sat in the back, like always. The service began hymns and prayers and a sermon about courage that felt pointed given current events. Marcus tried to focus, but his mind kept drifting. To Monday. To the arrest. To what came after. After the service, Pastor Williams approached them. He was 75, had known Sarah since she was a girl, had married them in this very church 16 years ago. Marcus, Darius, good to see you both. Pastor, walk with me a minute. They stepped outside into the Dallas heat. Darius ran off to look at a bird's nest in a tree. Pastor Williams watched him go, then turned to Marcus. You've been on my mind this week, on a lot of people's minds. I imagine so. Some folks here think you did the right thing. Others think you made a mess of things. The pastor's eyes were kind. Want to know what I think? Not particularly. Pastor Williams smiled. I think you did what Sarah would have wanted. She always said you had the biggest heart of any man she knew, that you couldn't stand seeing people hurt. That's why she loved you. Marcus felt his throat tighten. She'd probably think I was an idiot for putting Darius through this. She'd think you were teaching him what matters. Sarah was big on that what matters versus what's easy. She chose what mattered when she fought her cancer as long as she did. Not because it was easy, but because you and Darius mattered more than her comfort. The pastor paused. You're doing the same thing, choosing what matters. It's costing my son his childhood. No, it's giving your son a father he can be proud of. There's a difference. Darius came running back excited about the baby birds he'd seen. They drove home, not home, the hotel, and Marcus made sandwiches while Darius did homework. Normal things, small things, the kind of routine that held life together when everything else was chaos. That evening, Marcus got a call from Raymond. You see the news? Raymond asked without preamble. Which news? Ethan Blackwell just posted a video, 15 minutes ago. It's everywhere. Marcus pulled it up on his phone. Ethan sat in what looked like a home office, expensive and tasteful. He wore a sweater, casual, relatable, so different from the man in the Tom Ford suit. His face was composed, sorrowful, the picture of wounded dignity. I want to address the serious allegations that have been made against me. Ethan began. His voice was steady, reasonable. I am not the monster I've been portrayed to be. Are my wife and I having marital difficulties? Yes. Did we have an argument at a charity event? Yes. But the narrative that's been constructed that I'm some kind of serial abuser is simply not true. He paused, seeming to gather emotion. I have dedicated my life to building a company that employs thousands of people, that innovates, that contributes to our community. I have donated millions to charity, supported veteran programs, funded scholarships for underprivileged children, and now, because of one man's misinterpretation of a private moment, because of opportunistic individuals seeking financial gain, my reputation is being destroyed. Marcus felt rage building in his chest. To Marcus Webb, I say this. I understand you thought you were helping, but you don't know my marriage. You don't know my wife. You saw a moment out of context and made it into something it wasn't. And now you've unleashed a circus that's hurting real people. My employees who depend on Apex for their livelihoods, my wife who's being harassed by media, the charities that relied on my support. Ethan looked directly into the camera. I am not perfect. I have made mistakes in my personal life, but I am not what these allegations claim, and I will fight to clear my name, to protect my family, to restore what's been taken from me through lies and manipulation. Thank you. The video ended. Marcus sat staring at his phone, hands shaking with anger. "It's good," Raymond said quietly. "He's good. That video is making people doubt." "How can they doubt? There's footage. 23 women. Evidence. Because he looks sincere. Because he's reminding people of all the good he's done. Because reasonable people want to believe that successful charitable men aren't also capable of terrible things." Raymond sighed. "Check Twitter. It's working." Marcus did. The hashtag Justice for Diane was being drowned out by Defend Blackwell. Comments flooded in defending Ethan, attacking the women, calling it a witch hunt and a cash grab. The narrative was shifting again in real time. "What do I do?" Marcus asked. "Nothing. Let Catherine handle it. You respond, now you look defensive. You look like you're trying too hard. The criminal charges speak for themselves." But it didn't feel like enough. Marcus watched Ethan's video 3 more times, each viewing making him angrier. The manipulation, the performance, the way Ethan positioned himself as the victim while never actually denying what he'd done, just reframing it, softening it, making it sound reasonable. Monday morning arrived with the weight of inevitability. Marcus woke early, dressed carefully, prepared Darius for another day of school and scrutiny. Catherine had told him to stay away from the courthouse, that his presence would make it a circus. But Marcus needed to see it, needed to witness Ethan Blackwell in handcuffs, needed that visual confirmation that the system could work. He dropped Darius at school, drove downtown, parked 3 blocks from the courthouse. News vans were everywhere. Reporters, camera crews, crowds of people with signs, some supporting Diane, others supporting Ethan, everyone screaming their certainty into the void. Marcus stayed at the edge, hood up, trying to be invisible. At 9:47 a.m., a black SUV pulled up. Police officers flanked it. And there was Ethan Blackwell, no longer in a sweater, but in an expensive suit, walking with his lawyers, calm and composed, even as photographers swarmed. "Mr. Blackwell, any comment on the charges?" "Ethan, are you worried about prison time?" "What do you say to the women accusing you?" Ethan said nothing, just walked up the courthouse steps head high, the picture of wounded innocence. Marcus wanted to scream, wanted to run forward and tell everyone watching that this man was a monster in expensive clothes. But he stayed still, stayed quiet, let the process unfold. Catherine appeared beside him, seeming to materialize from nowhere. "You shouldn't be here." "I know. But I understand why you are." She watched Ethan disappear into the courthouse. "Arraignment will take about an hour. He'll plead not guilty. Make bail probably $1 million, nothing to him. Then it's a waiting game. Trial probably won't start for 6 months." 6 months. Criminal trials take time. Discovery motions, jury selection. Be grateful it's not longer. Catherine turned to him. "You need to prepare yourself, Marcus. This is going to get worse before it gets better. Ethan's going to wage a PR war while we wait for trial. He'll try to win in the court of public opinion, even if he knows he'll lose in actual court. Why, if he's going to be convicted anyway? Because men like him don't accept losing. And because if he can sway enough, people make them doubt, create reasonable uncertainty, he might get a hung jury. One juror who believes his story is all he needs." Marcus felt the impossibility of it all crash over him again. "So we just wait, for 6 months, while he's out on bail living his life. While we build an airtight case, while more women find courage to come forward, while his empire continues to crumble." Catherine's expression was fierce. "Trust the process, Marcus. It's slow, but it works." The crowd erupted as Ethan emerged from the courthouse an hour later, released on $2 million bail. He paused at the top of the steps, his lawyer beside him, and addressed the cameras. "I maintain my complete innocence. These charges are baseless, and I will fight them with every resource at my disposal. Thank you." Short, simple, confident. The performance of a man who believed he was untouchable. Marcus's phone buzzed. A text from Darius's school. His stomach dropped. Not again. "I have to go," he told Catherine. "What happened?" "I don't know yet. But it's never good when the school calls. He drove faster than he should have, heart-pounding, imagining a dozen scenarios. When he arrived, Principal Morrison met him at the entrance, her face grave. "Mr. Webb, there's been an incident." "Is Darius hurt?" "Physically, no. But emotionally. Marcus, he got into a fight with 3 other boys. They were calling you names, calling Mrs. Blackwell names, saying terrible things. Darius tried to defend you. It escalated." Marcus closed his eyes. "Where is he?" "My office. The other boys' parents are on their way. We'll need to discuss consequences." Darius sat in a chair outside Morrison's office, head down, hands clenched in his lap. His shirt was torn. There was a red mark on his cheek that would be a bruise tomorrow. Marcus knelt in front of him. "You okay?" Darius looked up, eyes wet but defiant. "They said you were a liar, that you made everything up, that Mrs. Blackwell was a gold digger and you were helping her steal from Mr. Blackwell. I told them to stop. They didn't. So I—" His voice broke. "I pushed one of them. Then they all pushed back." "Buddy, you can't hit people just because they say things you don't like." "But they were lying about you." "I know. But fighting doesn't fix lies. It just makes more problems." "Then what do I do? Just let them say whatever they want." Marcus didn't have a good answer. He pulled Darius into a hug, felt his son tremble against him, felt the weight of every choice he'd made bearing down on this 9-year-old boy who just wanted to defend his father. The other parents arrived, 3 sets of them, all angry, all demanding Darius be suspended or expelled. Marcus sat through 20 minutes of accusations and outrage, Morrison trying to mediate, everyone talking over each other. Finally, Marcus stood up. His voice was quiet, but it cut through the noise. "My son was defending my name, defending the truth. Your sons were repeating lies they heard from you. So before you demand consequences for Darius, maybe look at what you're teaching your own children about integrity and compassion." One father, red-faced, expensive watch, pointed at Marcus. "You're the one who started this mess. You couldn't mind your own business. You had to be a hero. And now everyone's paying the price." Everyone's paying the price because a man beat his pregnant wife and 23 women came forward to say it wasn't the first time. That's the mess. Not me stopping it. That's alleged. It's all alleged until proven in court. There's video footage. There's medical records. There's testimony from dozens of witnesses. At what point does alleged become obvious? The father had no answer to that. Neither did the others. They left demanding Darius face punishment. But Morrison held firm, 1-day suspension for all 4 boys, mandatory counseling, parents required to attend conflict resolution meeting. In the truck, Darius said quietly, "I'm sorry. Don't be sorry for defending what's right. But son, you got to understand, fighting doesn't win this. Truth wins this. Time wins this. Patience wins this." "I don't want to be patient. I want everyone to know you're a good man." "They will, eventually. But it's going to take time." "How much time?" "I don't know, buddy, but however long it takes, we'll get through it, together." That night, alone in the hotel room after Darius fell asleep, Marcus allowed himself to feel the full weight of exhaustion. 2 weeks. 14 days since the gala. It felt like years. His old life, the simple rhythm of work and fatherhood, the quiet anonymity of being nobody special, felt like something from another lifetime. His phone buzzed, a text from a number he didn't recognize. "My name is Amanda Price. No relation, different price. I worked at Apex in 2017. I was 19. Ethan cornered me in a supply closet and put his hands places they didn't belong. When I complained to HR, I was fired for poor performance. I've been watching everything unfold. I'm ready to add my story to the others. I'm woman number 24. Marcus forwarded it to Catherine, then set his phone down and stared at the ceiling. 24 women. 24 lives changed by one man's cruelty. And for every woman who came forward, how many more stayed silent? How many more stories were buried under NDAs and fear and shame? His phone rang. Catherine. "Did you see it?" she asked. "Yeah, 24. 24 that we know of. Could be more. Could be dozens more." Her voice carried awe and horror. "Marcus, we're not just taking down one bad man. We're exposing an entire system that protected him, that enabled him, that looked the other way because he was rich and powerful and important." "Good. It's going to get uglier. He's going to fight harder. The closer we get to trial, the more desperate he'll become. Let him fight. We have the truth. Truth doesn't always win. It did for us, though, so far." Catherine was quiet for a moment. Then, "You know what the difference is between this case and the dozens I've lost over the years?" "What, you? You stood up when it wasn't convenient. When it cost you everything. You made it impossible for people to look away. That's the difference. That's why we're winning." "I'm not special, Catherine. I just did what anyone should do." "That's exactly what makes you special. You think it's normal. You think it's baseline human decency. But most people don't have that. Most people choose safety over courage every single time. You didn't. And it changed everything." After she hung up, Marcus thought about that. About being called special for doing something that felt like the most obvious choice in the world. About how low the bar had fallen that standing up to violence made you a hero. He thought about Sarah. About what she would say if she were here. Probably something about how proud she was. How she always knew he had it in him. How Darius was lucky to have a father who understood what mattered. Then he thought about Darius, 9 years old, getting into fights at school, losing friends, watching his father become public property. Was Marcus teaching him courage, or was he teaching him that doing right meant suffering? Was there even a difference? His phone buzzed again. "Diane? I felt the baby kick today. Really kick like she's ready to meet the world. And I realized she's going to grow up free. She's never going to know her father as anything but what he really is. She's never going to be trapped like I was, and that's because of you. Because you gave me a chance to be the mother she deserves." Marcus stared at that message for a long time. A baby who would grow up free. A little girl who would never know the fear her mother had lived with. That was worth something. That had to be worth something. He typed back, "What's her name?" "Haven't decided yet. But I'm thinking Hope. 2 on the nose. Maybe, but also perfect. Hope it is then. Hope Webb Blackwell. Webb for the man who saved us. Is that okay?" Marcus's vision blurred. "Yeah, that's okay." He set the phone down and let himself cry. For everything lost and everything gained. For the simplicity of his old life and the complexity of his new one. For Sarah, who wasn't here to see this. For Darius, who had to live through it. For Diane and her daughter and all the women who'd found their voices. And for himself, Marcus Webb, 47 years old, unemployed, exhausted, hunted by a billionaire's lawyers, and judged by a world that didn't know him. But also Marcus Webb, the man who couldn't walk away. The man who'd started an avalanche by refusing to let one more woman suffer in silence. The trial was 6 months away. 6 months of waiting, of fighting, of watching Ethan Blackwell try to destroy everyone who dared to speak against him. 6 months of uncertainty and stress and fear. But also 6 months of building a case so overwhelming that no jury could ignore it. 6 months of more women finding courage. 6 months of an empire crumbling under the weight of its own sins. Marcus could wait 6 months. He'd waited through 2 tours of combat, through Sarah's illness, through the long nights after she died when he didn't think he could take another breath without her. He could wait 6 months for justice. Because some things were worth waiting for. Some fights were worth fighting. And some choices, the hard ones, the costly ones, the ones that changed everything, those choices defined who you were. Marcus Webb had made his choice on a Thursday night in November, in a ballroom full of people who looked away. He'd chosen to see, to speak, to stand. And now, 2 weeks later, he'd choose to finish what he started. no matter how long it took, no matter what it cost. Because Darius was watching. Because Hope Webb Blackwell would be born into a world that knew her father's crimes. Because 24 women had found their voices. Because Sarah would have wanted this. And because Marcus Webb, despite everything, still believed that doing right mattered more than doing easy. He fell asleep to the sound of Dallas outside his window, cars passing, sirens wailing, the city going on with its life. Tomorrow would bring more challenges, more attacks, more reasons to quit. But Marcus wasn't going to quit. He was going to see this through, all the way to the end.